Hey guys, I'm Comire, this is Start and Select, and do you mind if I show you something really quick? This was the first look at Zelda Wii U way back in E3 2014. Fast travel almost 3 years later, and we're talking about how the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has nailed the open world effect. You know, there's really something to be said for how long it's taken Breath of the Wild to come out. I mean, since it was announced, the US has gotten a new president, the UK got a new prime minister, Nintendo announced a new console, the UK lost an EU, Jay-Z stuck a massive middle finger up at Spotify, Beyonce stuck a massive middle finger up at Jay-Z, that whole Ebola thing happened, like every single celebrity died, there was a hurricane, 2 earthquakes, nearly 3 declarations of World War, and most importantly, Nintendo released that new console. Oh my god, have you seen it? It's amazing! But even though everything in our open world may be getting progressively worse, the same can't be said for video games. From Warcraft to Minecraft, from Shenmue to Watch Dogs 2, video game open worlds is like a man in his late 40s, getting bigger and bigger day by day. And when I say big, I mean big. Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain is supposedly 200 times bigger than Ground Zeroes. That's bigger than 500,000 lengths of your local swimming pool. That's bigger than Greece. That's almost as big as your mum. But actually pinning down that open world feeling. I mean, there's more to it than just making a large map. Because as we all know, size doesn't matter. It's how your procedurally generated AI use it. An open world video game needs to be able to guide you through its world while making you feel like the path you took was your idea. Now, that bit's easy, so easy they teach it in schools, it's called RE. But the trouble starts when you're trying to make a game where, by design, the player could possibly skip over the beginning and middle and go straight to the end if they wanted. How can you get the player to go through as much of your game map as possible without restricting them to just one road, or losing them when they inevitably go off track and start looking for little holes in your game like some uppity little YouTuber with no history of game design experience to speak of? Normally, travelling through the map and working through the story happen hand in hand, but not in Breath of the Wild. You start in the Great Plateau, an escalated leafy playground filled with hills, monsters, and enough Hylian shrooms to give Mario a permanent stiffy. Link wakes up like every student has done at least once. In the woods, with no clothes on and no memory of what's happened the night before. Hey, this is a safe space. No one's judging. It's okay. Here, you get to play with the game's core mechanics by completing a number of trials, collecting materials to forage, and encountering monsters to fight. After which, you're properly introduced to the story and given the ability to sail away into the wider world rather than plummet into the depths of wherever Big Brother contestants come from. Something similar happens in Fallout 4, where you get partial access to the world until the bomb drops, or up until the proving ceremony in Horizon Zero Dawn. The first one being a game where you kill soulless monsters with powerful machines, and the second one being a game where you kill powerful machines with ginger people. Other games like Xenoblade Chronicles X deter you from some areas until you're the right level by carefully placing super strong enemies with so much attack power, Yu-Gi-Oh! Would think there was a new Egyptian god card. And then games like Minecraft or No Man's Sky that have no set direction instead ask you to explore at your own discretion. And if you could avoid moaning and crying and suing over a game that was clearly never going to be more than that, then that'd be great. Okay, thanks, bye. Going on quests, completing objectives, and getting awesome weapons and abilities that are useful in the game world is the hallmark of any good open world game. But you know what's even better than that? Pissing off and doing something else entirely. Millennials, right? We're flaky as hell. Breath of the Wild has structured its missions in such a way that it not only welcomes you to interrupt the task at hand, but pretty much waves sexily clad side quests in front of your face and calls you a pussy for not sticking your master sword where the sun don't shine. The main mission objectives are set intentionally far apart, so you're forced to learn more of the game's rules by experiencing the world. You're bound to see a new shrine, or some wild animals, or at the very least, help a bokoblin get his cooker started. So if you're ever unprepared or underleveled or just plain old bored of saving life as we know it, well then just nap off and do something else. Old Ganon will still be there waiting for ya. In the Assassin's Creed games, you can dip in and out of main missions too. But since those missions take you all of 5 minutes to slip in and slip out like Bill Cosby with a bottle full of pills, you're hardly likely to take a break for a catch up with the boys. But one thing Uni and Syndicate deliberately tried to do was create a sense of completing a mission any way you wanted. In reality, most missions could be tackled multiple, but still a very set number of ways. Breath of the Wild's interconnected system of objects, properties and actions, combined with a comprehensive physics engine and open-ended level design, creates almost an infinite number of ways to approach any situation. But that's just a fancy way of me saying, look at me flying this rock. Yeah. Okay, so by this point, I know what you're thinking. Comire, you're clearly very smart, funny, have a great taste in beanie hats, and no issues talking to women at all. But it takes more to make an open world game than leaving partway through a mission and a joke about an Italian plum with an erection. Well, you'd be right. Game designers filled in very technical and delicate choices, some of which will dictate literally your whole world view. Here we have your friendly neighborhood Batman from the Arkham Knight game, contemplating just how many films there needs to be before Warner Bros. Fires Zack Snyder. Notice how much room Batman takes on the screen. Now, let's have a look at a friendly neighborhood Jacob Fry from Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I think we'll come back later. So, Jacob, look how much he takes. It's a lot less, right? Making the character smaller on screen, by contrast, makes the world around them seem bigger, an effect Breath of the Wild emphasizes. This can happen through a mix of having a relatively smaller character model and or placing the camera further away by default. But look how tall the buildings are in Arkham Knight. They're so tall it's like Gotham is finger-banging Jupiter, but in Syndicate, buildings are scaled down, so much so Big Ben, a clock tower 320 feet tall, can be climbed in under a minute. And what's the point in having a Big Ben if you can only last a minute? Hey! The Arkham Knight games make the grapple gun and a frankly ludicrous number of gargoyle statues central to its gameplay, so the level design should reflect that. Whereas Assassin's Creed focuses on climbing and parkour, so the buildings need to be compact enough to make the leaps from one floor to another at least somewhat believable. Meanwhile, Breath of the Wild has mountains. All open worlds take different approaches to convince the player that their environments are massive, even making the character move slower just so you can take longer looking around. You know, whenever you don't have a Batmobile, that is. Simply put, if you make the player character smaller, the climbable structures bigger, the running speed slower, and the camera default further away, the whole world becomes a lot grander. Although beware, because too much and it'll start to feel like Pikmin, and too little and it'll start to feel like Godzilla. An open world video game should be like a children's adventure play center with multiple exciting and imaginative play options to get involved in and a more responsible adult standing off to the side judging your life choices. So yeah, you could make a game world bigger than Zeus's Twister Mat, but if you haven't filled it with anything, well then you haven't made an open world game. You've made a cheese pizza. The blandest of all the pizza. There needs to be more going on than just fetch quests and escort missions. In Breath of the Wild, you'll see people being terrorized by creatures in the field where you can choose to intervene or ignore. You'll regularly stumble upon bokoblins hanging out by campfires ready for you to mess up their day like the monster you really are. In villages, I've come across children, let me rephrase that. There have been children that have shown me points of interest just because I happen to be mashing the A button rather than practicing my Sound of Music routine. All these random occurrences are optional extras. By doing them, I get worthwhile prizes, but if I don't, it's not detrimental to the game. Back in the day, Spider-Man 2 was a great open world game with its random crimes, citizens in distress, as well as a pizza delivery or two. In the Fable series, you can go from buying a house, to a shop, to the whole damn kingdom. Heck, you can get drunk and destabilize an entire economy if you try hard enough. But the king of additional open world activities goes to Grand Theft Auto 5. There you can do everything, including competing in a triathlon, building a spaceship, or just blowing up your dog. I mean, I'm not going to list them all, but let's just appreciate that we just went from Spider-Man 2 to Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, if that's not fast travel, I don't know what is. An open world video game is something you're supposed to get lost in, much like a good film or a great book or an incredible weekend with an Eastern European yoga instructor. The last way I want to talk about how you get that open world effect is getting you invested through world building. These are the background touches, the impressions of actual life, the things that happen without you necessarily being there. It's that beautiful moment in Grand Theft Auto when you walk around the corner and there's a bunch of guys beating each other up for no particular reason. Breath of the Wild is packed full of this. I've trekked across the lands and bumped into travellers on horseback just going about their day, as well as romantic young couples just going about their night. In the wild, animals frolic on the horizon, reacting to road noises and definitely inviting you to introduce an arrowhead to their skull. In the villages, children run around more than the Stranger Things kids, and at night everyone shuts up shop and goes to bed. Similar world building can be seen in The Witcher 3, where thief activity increases at night as if the game was set in Scunthorpe. Video games have evolved so much in such a short space of time. I mean, the industry is really only just under 40 years old. And, like any woman of a similar age will tell you, we are living through its prime years. I mean, it's feeling more confident and feels happy at demanding more from you, and regardless how much your friends will judge you for it, you will probably do everything it tells you to. It's been 6 years since Skyrim did what Skyrim did so well that we've only just stopped accusing every open world game announced of trying to be the next Skyrim. At one point, an Elder Scrolls title or a Fable game was basically a list of escort missions, but now the average virtual square mile has more activities than the outside of a Happy Meal box. And everything in Breath of the Wild makes me want to explore it more. That's proof that it's clinched the open world effect. And more importantly, it's fun. That's proof it works as a game. So I've been going on for a little bit now. I want to hear from you. What do you think it takes to make an open world video game? What's your favourite one and what's your favourite aspect of it? And more importantly, what do you think of the new Zelda, yo? Just drop a comment down below or send me a tweet. But you know what? I'm off to play some Zelda. So, I've been Comire, this has been Start Select. Thank you, and good night. And if that was Christmas every year for you, I apologise for calling you spoiled. But let's be honest, you kinda were. And the variety in a PlayStation launch is huge. Lots of big names and some lesser known punts, with everything from fighting games to racing games to RPGs to 8 different NBA titles.